Folks, it's Tom, your frugal prepper. So I have pretty much got the garden all in. The wires are up. It's leveled out pretty good. And so what I'm going to do now is mix up a batch of pre-plant fertilizer. And so what I'll do is put you would do a pound for a 30-foot row on each side. Actually 2 pounds of pre-plant and a pound of weekly feed. So I'll do 2 2/3 pounds down each side and 2/3 of a pound of weekly feed because I'm only doing a 20-foot bed. But to mix up your pre-plant, it's pretty simple. So in here is 1 ounce of boron, which you use your 20 mule team borax that you can buy in your laundry soap aisle. And then there's 4 ounces of magnesium sulfate, also known as epsom salt. And then this is dolomite lime in this bucket. And we're going to do 5 pounds of dolomite lime, which I'll measure out with my mason jar because 16 ounces is a pound. And then that will be my pre-plant to put down. Now it'll be more pre-plant than I need, so I'll have some left over for next year. But I'm out, so this is the time to make a new batch. I just thought I would show you that is the process, and that puts the calcium and magnesium in the soil, a good amount of it to get good start, prevents blossom end rot, those kinds of things. And the boron, now we don't put boron in the weekly feed, however there may be some in the mineral pack. I'm not 100% sure, but we are supposed to put the boron in the pre-plant as well. Plants don't need much boron, but they do need it. It's an essential nutrient. But if you put too much, there is boron toxicity that plants can get. So that's why there's 1 ounce to a 5-pound bucket. Doesn't take much boron. A lot of people will use the pre-plant, like if they start to see a calcium deficiency, and throw that down. I will not. I would much rather just add some lime and maybe a little epsom salt, because I don't want to get too much boron in my soil. Because when plants get boron toxicity, it's real ugly. So very small amounts of boron. So I'm going to mix this up, and I just thought I would go through that. Again, with Mittleider, we add the nutrients to the soil. We don't care what the dirt's like. Many people grow in sand and sawdust or whatever. I just choose to use soil because I don't want to have to mix up and deal with sand and sawdust and all that crap. I'll just use the dirt that's there. So we don't rely on the soil for anything other than a medium to hold the roots, because we're adding the nutrients. So the soil quality is the least important thing in Mittleider gardening. We don't care. A lot of people, if you rely on your soil for all of your nutrients, then you're going to be mixing all kinds of manures and compost and leaves. And a lot of people will say, well, this isn't sustainable, right? This isn't something that you can do. Well, I can fall back to traditional methods. And because I push plants constantly to the 100% of their capacity by giving them all the nutrients, I have to deal with deficiencies along the way. In fact, last night I was looking at the group, and somebody posted a picture of a tomato plant. And everybody was like, oh, that's blight. It's early blight. It's late blight. It's whatever blight. It's some fungus. It was clearly a case of potassium deficiency. Interveinal spots and tears and scorching of the leaf edges. I've seen it on my plants before. And tomatoes are not a big potassium. They primarily like lots of magnesium and calcium. But when you have a plant that's got all the other nutrients and you're pushing it and you hit a deficiency, it is one of the essential nutrients and it does need some. So a lot of times things that you see in plants where you just don't know what's going on, like why is it not growing, why is it turning yellow, with Mittleider, I've learned to identify those things and be able to treat them. And yes, there's natural ways to get calcium in your soil, eggshells, things like that. But The other thing I would say is how much cow poop and rabbit poop and stuff can you stockpile? After a shit hit the fan situation, and when I say shit hit the fan, I mean probably talking like another depression, right? We're not talking about complete without rule of lawness, but we're talking about being broke, not having much money, those kinds of things, or war. Even if it's not a war in our own soil, but a war that's killing our economy. Um, I can have 10 years of stuff stockpiled. It doesn't go bad, and I can use it. And if I run out at some point, then I can fall back to more traditional methods of gardening. But there's not going to be a Lowe's in that situation necessarily to run down to and get some cow poo if there's not cows and easy access to get to it, and you don't have the money to buy it, um, and you don't know a farmer, and you don't have a bunch of cows, and you've eaten all your chickens and rabbits because your family's starving. you know, Stockpiling some nutrients to grow the food, I think, makes a lot more sense to me. So that's how we do things in Mittleider. So I'm going to mix up this batch of Preplant and get that down there and get my weekly feed in. And I'll use my little Ryobi 2-cycle cultivator there to mix it in. And then I'll be going to buy some plants. I normally do start my cantaloupe from seed in cups indoors early. Didn't get to this year. So I'm going to be direct sowing those seeds. I think it's going to be okay. We'll just see how it turns out. Sometimes it's nice to give some plants a little bit of a heads up, a little bit of a head start, I should say. But in this case, I'll grow it from seed and wash them carefully, and they normally take off pretty quick, so I think we'll be okay there. But cantaloupe they love Epsom salt and dolomite. I'm sure I will have to give them supplemental feedings of that throughout the season. Keep them nice and sweet and good tasting. So, this is Tom, your frugal prepper. I'll talk to you later.